Hello and welcome back to coverage of the Magic Online Championship. We are in round 12. This is the second round of 4 of Modern on the day. Our feature match, as you can see, Jerry T on the left versus Sam Black on the right. Sam, we saw previously running his, what do we call it? Teamer
Traverse.
Teamer Traverse.
Tireless Teamer?
Tireless Teamer, yeah, either way. And Jerry
so-
T is currently on Jeskai Harbinger.
Yeah, so Jerry is kind of playing the mid-range blue-red-white Jeskai deck that recently got a lot of mileage out of the addition of Nahiri the Harbinger. She adds a very proactive win condition. She closes out the game pretty quickly, and that's by searching out Emrakul. So we'll see what she does in this match.
Yeah, it looks like both players have pretty decent hands here.
Yeah, Jerry has a very good hand against what Sam's got in. Sam just drew Tarfire, so for those of you not acquainted with this lovely little spell, it's a 1 red mana instant, deals 2 damage, but it's also Tribal Goblin, and the reason for Tarfire, it buffs Tarmogoyf.
Very nice, very nice. A nice little cute one. I think that's a 1-of in his deck, correct?
Yes, and almost assuredly without looking, though. It looks like he actually switched Seal of Fire for Tarfire at the last minute here, based on the deck list we've got.
All right, looks like Jerry does have the spell snare for that Tarmogoyf on Sam's
right,
turn
and that's why I think that these hands line up very nicely for Jerry. He's got double spell snare for double Tarmogoyf here.
Yeah, we've seen actually Nahiri making a huge wave in Modern recently with this kind of Emrakul deck. I know a lot of people have been playing it recently. How do you think it fits into the metagame?
I think it's kind of revived the blue-red-white archetype, partially because this deck had a problem closing out the game. It had a problem when its answers didn't line up well against opposing decks, or when you played against a linear deck that you weren't equipped to deal with. But Nahiri, you play her, you +2 her. Next turn you +2 her. Next turn Emrakul comes out, and that's a very quick clock. It's like suspend 2, win the game. So, your opponent can attack and interact with it, but she does have that going for her.
Yeah, many Planeswalkers, of course, that have the +2 on the very first protection side does make it easy for them to ultimate. Tarmogoyf this time from Sam Black is going to resolve, and it is a 5/6 right now.
Yeah, and Jerry does have a Path to Exile here to take out the Tarmogoyf if he wants. He also he could just play Time Reinforcements. That buys him, well, a ton of time. It's going to give him 3 1/1s and gain 6 life since he's behind on both those metrics.
Yeah, if he's behind on life and creatures, of course, you're going to get 3 1/1s, as we can see here, in addition to that 6 important life. Timely Reinforcements, take a good look. As good as Tarmogoyf is, no trample means the soldier tokens can do a good job jumping.
And Sam's in a bit of a tough spot here because, first of all, he doesn't have a ton of land. So by casting Serum Visions, he's stripped himself of the ability to cast Mana Leak or Spell Snare this turn, but he wanted to hit land drops, which he's going to. He drew a forest, but doesn't add blue. And then second, Tarfire and Lightning Bolt are not particularly effective cards on this current board state. So if Jerry draws a land, we could expect to see him play Nahiri because Sam has no counter magic up, and then +2 Nahiri. The Tarmogoyf's going to keep clocking the soldier tokens, but those can jump in the way forever. Though if Tarmogoyf ends up tapped, there's a possibility Jerry just immediately minuses Nahiri on Tarmogoyf, just picking up the 2-for-1 at the very worst.
Yeah, seems like a fine play. Sam does have his third important land, but again, he just doesn't have that blue source as you mentioned, so he's probably just going to have to pass the turn after attacking in with the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, he's going to be able to play that forest, but it's not going to let him play anything else here. So Jerry didn't hit a land, so he too is going to cast Serum Visions in search of lands and string it into another Serum Visions. Jerry's also not doing that badly just by attacking for 3 and then doing something like pathing the Tarmogoyf. It's also kind of funny if your opponent scryed a card to the top with Serum Visions, as Sam potentially did this game, Jerry can path to exile the Tarmogoyf, and then Sam can either get the land or shuffle away his he get the land, but if he does, he shuffles away the card he scryed to the top.
Yeah, that's a great point. Now, is that something that Sam might do since he's missing blue, or is he going to potentially keep the card that he wants on top?
It depends on the caliber of the card. Mostly, it's hard to tell without knowing that.
All right, looks like the second Serum Visions did find the 4th land for Jerry T, who's actually going to go ahead and bash in here with the 3 soldiers. Of course, like you mentioned, the Path to Exile probably going to be used on the Tarmogoyf here.
Yeah, and if you're gonna path, if you're scared of Mana Leak, you could cast it on main phase, but Jerry, because he has Spell Snare in hand, doesn't really have to worry about Mana Leak that much. He's gonna have to take 3 damage off Arid Mesa, but I think it's a price that he's willing to pay. if Sam does pull the trigger on the mana leak.
Yeah, especially in a deck with timely reinforcements. All right, so there's the mana leak, and just as you said, Arid Mesa will probably be finding a Steam Vents here. And a nice little target for Spell Snare.
Yeah, so this is all working out in Jerry's favor. He's tapping Sam out on Sam's turn. He's trading Spell Snare for mana leak, which is a good mana advantage. Take a look at Sam's graveyard here. So he's got artifact, creature, land, instant sorcery. So he's got everything he needs to make this traverse that he just drew active. It has Delirium, so he can go get any creature or land he wants. So he can't cast Peer and Kieran Alar, but something like Eternal Witness seems like a pretty reasonable choice. Snapcaster Mage or Tarmogoyf are among his other options. Tireless Tracker looks a little less impressive given that Sam currently doesn't have a land in his hand.
Yeah, it feels like Eternal Witness and Snapcaster also not too great versus the Soldier tokens, but they do obviously get some value from the graveyard, and like you had mentioned, he does have some fine hits.
Yeah, I would be leaning against Snapcaster. One advantage of Eternal Witness is it could just get back the Tarmogoyf, then you can end up with Tarmogoyf and an Eternal Witness. Though it is a little safer to just get Tarmogoyf and be able to play it next turn.
Yeah, only 2 green sources on Sam Black's side.
But it looks like he did get the tracker with the hope of drawing a land.
He still is able to cast one of his 2 burn spells should he opt to do that, or hold up a Spell Snare after casting the tracker.
So Nahiri is going to turn one of these lightning bolts into a fresh new card. There's a chance Jerry just wants both his lightning bolts and can just keep plussing Nahiri. Jerry had a lot of information this turn too. He knows that Sam has the Tireless Tracker in hand, so he could have just held up Cryptic Command, but because he also knows that Lightning Bolt can just deal with Tireless Tracker, he's really not that concerned.
Looks like Sam traversed twice, but he didn't want to go with a second time. Second tracker to the draw for him here.
Yeah, that not as exciting as just a land would have been, because Lightning Bolt can just take out the tracker. Also, Nahiri's about to tick up to 8. Also, Jerry's getting pretty close to just lightning bolting Sam out. I mean, he's presumably going to lightning bolt the tracker, attack Sam down to 10, and then have double bolt against Sam at 10 life with 3 soldier tokens in play. So you also have Sam in a position where he has to start throwing burn at Nahiri just to prevent her from getting Emrakul. So regardless of which metric you're trying to look at, Sam is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and Sam opted to have left up a blue source last turn instead of a red, so he's actually going to have to use his only red source this turn if he wants to knock Nahiri down a few points.
Right, he wanted to keep up Spell Snare. He didn't want to Lightning Bolt or Tar Fire on one of the tokens. That timing reinforcement's just done a lot of work. 3 mana for 3 tokens and 6 life is a very powerful card. So Sam knows about Cryptic Command, knows about Lightning Bolt, doesn't have a great plan for either. So Jerry choosing not to Lightning Bolt the Tireless Tracker, and looks like Sam's going to have to keep the Nahiri off his back for the time being.
Tarfire, 2 points, 2 Planeswalker points knocked down.
I don't know if Nahiri has enough Planeswalker points this season to to go fetch up the second buy here.
She got 6 all in one tournament, so that's not too bad.
Yeah. So Lightning Bolt taking out the Tireless Tracker as we predicted, just because it's such a big threat. Though the Mesty Reinforce means that Sam's going to be able to get another clue token.
Unfortunately for Sam, he knows about the Cryptic Command in Jerry's hand, and those soldiers, they're doing some real work.
If Jerry just finds an untapped land, which he did, he can just attack with Celestial Colony at the end of the game.
Well, there we go. And it looks like Jerry T, as long as he sees it, is going to take the first game here.
Yeah, I suspect he will.
Not even using the value Nahiri first. All right, so Jerry Thompson takes the first game versus Sam Black. Let's take a look at their sideboards. What kind of things can we expect Sam Black to bring in?
He doesn't have any real matchup breakers, but part of that is that when you're playing against blue, red, white, there's not any one card that defeats it. That's one of the advantages of not being a linear deck. So neither of these decks, there's no one card that they really fear. That being said, Sam can bring in cards like Negate and Glenelinja Archmage, which have pretty good value here.
Yeah, cards like Bajuka Bog from Sam's sideboard we saw really do some work in the last match. But like you said, the Jeskai Harbinger deck has so many lines of attack, it's not singly focused on one thing.
One advantage that Sam has is that Jerry also has Negate and Dispel in his sideboard, but Negate and Dispel are a lot less appealing against a deck full of like Tireless Trackers and Tarmogoyfs, where sometimes they'll just draw a bunch of creatures. Whereas Jerry's deck is pretty creature light. It's got Snapcaster Mage as the only creature, so Negate's going to counter the bulk of Jerry's spells.
You can see both players there on the top looking at, well, at least Jerry's looking at the deck lists. Of course, they have access to all of the deck lists now after the first round. And so they can kind of play some next leveling games. Well, if he's going to bring in this Dispel, maybe I don't want to bring in so many Negates.
Also worth noting that Nahiri makes a previous blue-red trump Keranos a lot less good, because Keranos is he's a god, but he's also an enchantment, and Nahiri can just exile an enchantment. So despite the fact that Keranos is indestructible, Nahiri does have the solution for him.
That's actually a really good answer. Previously, Keranos was very, very hard to deal with. Negate being one of the better answers, of course. Oh wait, that doesn't even work. I'm sorry. Non-creature.
Yeah, so Keranos just gets around everything, except for Nahiri, apparently. So Sam, despite having Keranos and inciting it in, it's just a lot weaker than it was before, just because there's an actual 4-of solution that doesn't look like those Nahiris are going anywhere. One thing that I like from Jerry's side of the board, by the way, is the 4 copies of Ancestral Vision. This is a previously banned card, now recently unbanned, and it's suspend 4, draw 3 cards for 1 blue mana. And the card is really powerful if you have enough time. And matchups like this, you do have enough time. So if Jerry can start the game by suspending 1 or 2 visions, then it's going to be really difficult for Sam to win a long game.
Yeah, of course, Ancestral Vision, a more recent unbanning here in Modern, so we're seeing some of the players put it to good use here. Looks like sideboarding might be finished, and we are going to go to a game 2 between Jerry Thompson and Sam Black. All right. Let's go down to the match. And let's take a look at these opening hands. Oh, Sam quickly taking a mulligan.
And I think he's going to keep this 6 because it has a Gitaxian Probe, plus you get the Scry. But yeah, he's going to have to scry that Negate to the bottom, start with a Gitaxian Probe, and he's hoping to draw lands here. When you keep a 1-lander, that's pretty much the plan. Jerry's on a pretty good hand of like 3 lands, Spell Snare, Path, Nahiri. Unfortunately for Jerry, his only blue source, Celestial Colonnade, comes into play tapped, so he's not going to have a Spell Snare up on turn 2, but from the looks of things, Sam isn't playing a turn 2 Tarmogoyf, or potentially even a turn 2 land, depending on how things work.
You can see Sam just writing down things that Jerry had in his hand to know. And it looks like he did hit his second land, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, Sam is going to have something to play the first couple turns, but this is not the kind of hand you want with a landlight hand. Like, Sam wouldn't mind a landlight hand with like a couple Tarmogoyfs, but this hand of like counterspell, 5-drop Snapcaster Mage, it's pretty hard to leverage those cards when you're just sitting on 2 lands.
Celestial Colonnade the play for Jerry Thompson, who's just about to pass the turn back.
And it's kind of interesting for Jerry. What does he do turn 2 if he doesn't draw a blue source? Does he leave up Spell Snare, or does he just play Serum Visions? One thing pushing him.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, okay, never mind. That was the perfect draw. So Sam went from having a Scalding Tarn as his only land to going Probe into Forest plus Tarmogoyf. So he's back on track here.
Tarmogoyf currently a 2/3. We have a sorcery and a land in Graveyard for Sam Black.
And if you're Jerry, you hate casting Path and giving your opponent a land when they're stuck on 2. Not that Jerry knows Sam's stuck on 2 quite yet, but he will if Sam misses a land drop on turn 3. But you can't just take damage off Tarmogoyf every single turn. Nahiri will deal with a tapped Tarmogoyf, but against this blue deck post board, you can't really assume Nahiri's just going to resolve into open mana.
So maybe we might see the same play that Jerry made last game. Now that he drew a second blue source to go along with the white, he might Path on Sam's upkeep and then hold up that Spell Snare.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty likely sequence of plays. Sam already has sorcery in the graveyard, so he could have waited to cast Traverse until post combat. But the reason to cast it pre combat is if Jerry counters the Traverse and puts an instant in the graveyard, the Tarmogoyf attacks for 3.
All right, so it looks like Jerry lets that resolve. Of course, he doesn't have a good counter for that anyways, but
yeah, now Jerry is going to Path. Sam is just letting that happen because he doesn't mind getting another land here. And this way, Sam doesn't play a 2-drop into a Spell Snare.
So Path to Exile resolving on that Tarmogoyf. And looks like Jerry doesn't have too much to do next turn beyond Serum Visions currently and holding up Spell Snares. All right, Remand's a pretty good draw versus the God of Storms.
Yeah, Remand is good. Also, you notice that Jerry did not play a Serum Visions here, or at least hasn't yet. One reason not to is having Remand plus Spell Snare up is a pretty nice combination, especially against an opponent who mulliganed. Hasn't actually come close to missing a land drop, so Jerry has no idea that Sam had a one-land opener. But if Jerry just keeps passing, Jerry does have more cards in hand and more spells in hand, so he's getting an advantage, especially since Serum Visions, it does help you not miss land drops. Like Sam is debating now, do I just slam Keranos? It's like he just knows it's not going to resolve, but there aren't that many cards that just punish him for playing it. Jerry has Remand. He doesn't actually have Mana Leak, so Sam could actually play it out there.
It looks like Sam's just going to play the Stomping Ground tapped, meaning he's leaving up, well, just the counter spells. He doesn't have any good targets for Snapcaster on Jerry's turn. Ancestral Vision on turn 4, not as exciting, but hey, this game, do you feel like it probably goes long enough that that'll resolve?
Yeah, I think that Jerry is actively happy to have drawn that Ancestral Vision. The turn 4 Vision in some matchups is just completely unplayable. In this matchup, this game isn't going to last that long. Like, what is Sam's next sequence of plays here? They're both just going to sit there. Jerry just wants to draw lands now, preferably blue ones.
We'll pull out this Ancestral Vision so you guys can see that.
So it's on 3 counters here. And Jerry's going to cast Serum Visions. He drew a land, which is exactly what he wanted. So now he's going to be able to play an untapped Steam Vents, because I think the 2 life is less relevant than keeping up Snare plus Remand. And see, even if Sam draws a land, Sam can go Keranos, Jerry remands it, Sam goes Negate or Mana Leak, probably Mana Leak, and then Jerry Spell Snares that. So it doesn't end up working out for Sam. The only upside is that if Keranos resolving the turn after Remand, but then Jerry just plays the Nahiri and devours the Keranos.
All right, well, let's see what Sam opts for. He did draw that 7th land, so he could go for that line of play that you had mentioned, but it looks like he's just going to pass it back here.
He didn't play his land. So he's trying to imply that he has all spells in hand, but not playing the land. I guess it also works with Tireless Tracker.
Mm-hmm.
He's hoping to draw a Tireless Tracker later.
Ancestral Visions on 2 suspend currently.
And see, this is one of the advantages Jerry has. Both players are doing nothing, but Jerry's got that vision, so they're going to have a counter war on Jerry's upkeep where Jerry spends 0 mana. Like, how powerful is it to kick off a must-counter spell that costs 0 mana? Like, Sam's going to have to start tapping lands, and Jerry just has to sit there and see what happens.
Yeah, Jerry even has an Electrolyze that he can fire off at the end of turn.
So Sam has enough mana to go negate, snap, negate, and because he didn't play a land that turn, he can't also play Mana Leak, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, he's on 8 mana right now.
Oh, he's 8. So yeah, you're right. He actually can go play all those cards.
All right, and this is the
The
pivotal
double
turn.
island got me. All right, so here's the Ancestral Vision. So Jerry's got 3 counters, and Sam has 3 counters. So I think that this works out for Jerry because he's able to play all his counters. Also, it's also insanely good for Jerry that his counters cost 1 mana.
Yes. He's going to be able to leverage that extra 3 cards, only having used a few sources to counter.
So another important interaction here is that Jerry can let, if he wants, Snapcaster resolve and then remand the spell that gets flashed back. So Spell Snares do their thing. Jerry draws 3 cards. He's going to hit his land drop. Relic of Progenitus, a very relevant card in this matchup because it shrinks Tarmogoyfs and takes away Delirium for Traverse. And then Jerry just still sitting there on Remand plus Dispel, Lightning Bolt to handle a Tireless Tracker, an Engineered Explosives, which is not a very efficient way of handling Tarmogoyf, but it does handle Tarmogoyf. So I think Jerry is in very good shape here.
Yeah, man. Just Relic, actually a really good card, as you had mentioned, even knocking off any Snapcasters Sam might draw in the future. We do notice that Celestial Colonnade over there on Jerry's side, so if he wants to start attacking with that, he could potentially do so. Another land draw for Sam.
And now he's kind of forced into playing Keranos. And, you know, Jerry could just let Keranos resolve and Nahiri it if he wanted to. It's pretty tempting to remand a 5-mana spell. So I'm definitely not faulting him for that. But what if Sam does resolve Keranos? Jerry can just Nahiri it. I mean, this is what we talked about during sideboarding. Like Sam's going to mana leak back here. At that point, I think if you're Jerry, you just let the mana leak resolve on Remand and then play Nahiri and -2 to exile Keranos.
This does mean that Nahiri is going to be able to ultimate a few turns sooner, though. And now with Sam 1 card in hand, this mana leak getting dispelled, things are really looking on the up and up for Jerry, who's already up a game here in their match.
And Jerry draws a second Nahiri. So Jerry's just playing it more conservative and just worrying about what happens if Nahiri doesn't resolve. So he's just making sure the Remand resolves on Keranos. And like you said, this means Nahiri will ultimate sooner. So now Jerry can go like +2 discard Scalding Tarn or +2 discard Engineered Explosives or Lightning Bolt to filter through and find more action.
Jerry's going to fetch on upkeep.
Ooh,
Find an
Ancestral
island.
Visions. This one maybe maybe a slightly long-term plans, but I think there's like a decent chance that Nahiri still ends up making those visions good, because it's just nice having a card that can let you filter through your deck. Like Nahiri can +2 and discard Ancestral Visions if you don't think it's going to resolve.
That's actually crazy to think about that. Yeah, the Nahiri's adding extra value. Ancestral Vision's not a very Ancestral Vision not a very good draw so late in the game, but being able to discard it and find a new card is quite nice. Sam already on 12 life from basically his own lands, if I remember correctly, and maybe a Gitaxian Probe.
Yeah, basically just the Probe and the lands. He played some untapped lands.
Conveniently, I know of a creature that does over 12 damage in one hit.
That would be Emrakul. Also, Celestial Colonnade, just a pretty effective win condition. There's a chance that Jerry just attacks with Colonnade 3 times this game.
Oh, well, a double bolt now in Jerry's hand. He makes that play of discarding the Ancestral Vision, just like you said to Nahiri, now on 6 loyalty.
See, sometimes Ancestral Vision draws 1 card.
All right, well, Sam gets to take a look at what Jerry's working with.
Yeah, pretty good chance he just pays the mana here, because he's getting to the point where he has a lot more mana than he has life.
So if you're Jerry and Kronos resolves, do you ignore it or do you exile it immediately?
I would exile it. The problem with ignoring it is if he as soon as Sam flips a non-land spell and deals 3 with Keranos, then it's like you lost an extra loyalty. So, though I guess it's the difference between +2 and -2, so it's not quite that much, but it's still big enough a swing that I think it's just safer just to exile it. Plus, you have a second here if something goes wrong. And Jerry's not under pressure to like race to Emrakul. Jerry's just going to win this game with Celestial Colonnade if he wants to. And Sam's nowhere near killing Jerry. So, another thing that's kind of interesting is that Jerry ended up. Or Sam ended up not playing the Tarmogoyf, so that Jerry maybe discards Engineered Explosives to Nahiri, but it looks like Jerry's gonna hold on to that one.
Yeah, Jerry actually opting to go ahead and plus Nahiri here, discarding that Ancestral Vision and activating Celestial Colonnade, which we know is a 2-turn clock given the double Lightning Bolt in his hand.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Jerry, Timely Reinforcements just doesn't do anything because he's just up ahead, but ahead on life, ahead on creatures. Like he's just winning by so much that the reinforcements are refusing to show up.
And they're not even refreshments.
Yeah. Well, I think Jerry's gonna have time for some timely refreshments here if the rest of this next turn goes as planned. So he gets, because he's gonna be able to get around the Pia and Kiran Nalaar Thopter tokens by going explosive for 0, explode, attack with Colonnade, double bolt you, and he doesn't know Sam's hand, so there's slight amounts of risks inherent in that. But I think if you're Jerry, then you're feeling pretty good about this.
Yeah, we could definitely see an end of turn double bolt if Jerry wants to go for it here. In fact, that is going to be the play. Jerry's going to go ahead and double bolt Sam at the end of Sam's turn.
Yeah, he's just really giving up on getting life off timely reinforcements.
And we're probably going to see that play of Engineer Explosives for 0, activate for 2.
Well, timely reinforcements also has its other uses. So Jerry could, let's see. Yeah, he has exactly enough mana to steal Serum Visions and do all these plays, so maybe he just finds a Lightning Bolt or something like that that's a little safer.
Some quick plays here by Jerry. He sees the writing on the wall. Nahiri up to 7. There's the land. Engineered Explosives for 0. I could look at Engineered Explosives for you guys.
And so Jerry played it for 0, so it's going to destroy all non-land permanents with cost equal to 0, which currently are the 2 Thopter tokens.
And this is pretty telling for Sam. Clearly signifying the Celestial Colonnade's probably going to be getting in there.
Yep. Sam offering the handshake over the laptops there and conceding the game there.
And that's going to be it. Jerry takes the match over Sam Black 2-0 in this second round of Modern. Welcome back to the booth here at the Magic Online Championships. Kenji Yagashiro with Luis Scott Vargas. We just watched Jerry Thompson take the match 2-0 over Sam Black. And now we have Marshall Sutcliffe in the red zone with a sweet playback for us.
All right, so I'm in the red zone here. I've got Joe Spanier versus Peter Ye loaded up. So let's take a look here. I don't actually know who wins this match. I figured I'd go along with you guys. So let's get rolling here. Now, as far as matchups goes, well, you can see what Peter's on here. He's on Infect. And down on the bottom, you see Welding Jar, Mox Opal, Thoughtseize, which if you only looked at this, you might think that it's Affinity, but it's in fact not. Once you see that Thoughtseize, it usually means that you're dealing with a Lantern situation, and that is exactly what Joe has here. You can see he's already up to 4 poison over here on the left side of your screen. But there's an Ensnaring Bridge, one of the keys to trying to beat, well, any of these attack-type decks, but it looks like he's going to take a ton of poison, and in fact, a lethal dose here as he takes 10. So let's move on to... Yeah, let's move on to the next one here. So Joe has a Ghoul Collar spell to start things off here. And there's a Glistener Elf followed up by a Noble Hierarch, and things are not looking good for Joe Spanier and company here. He's already at 4 poison. Oh, my goodness. Here's Become Immense now as well. And that's it. That's actually the game right there. So, yeah, that was a little bit of a quick one. Joe Spanier dead. It turns out that you need to get that Ensnaring Bridge down a little sooner and with no cards. Now, even then, I still have seen the Infect deck win through that. It's pretty tough for them, but you can see, cards like Noble Hierarch can actually start to get in for some amount of damage and try to put some pressure on. But that wasn't going to happen here, so Joe Spanier takes a tough loss. Kenji, are you sad?
I'm always sad, Marshall. Thanks for that red zone quick look back. We have a quick interview, and then that's the end of round 12. But stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Round 13 is coming up. We have 2 more rounds of Modern. Stay tuned.